The heat shimmered off the asphalt like a mirage when the Ferrari finally rolled to a helpless stop, its engine ticking in surrender on the shoulder of the highway. And in that single breath between motion and stillness, a woman who owned half the skyline realized she had never felt so small. The sun was high, the day painfully bright, and the road stretched ahead with a careless indifference that matched the knot tightening in her chest. Her name was Valeria Monroe, and in boardrooms she was thunder, but here, beside a silent supercar and an open hood, she was just another person stranded under a merciless sky. If you believe that kindness can arrive from the most unexpected places and that second chances sometimes come wrapped in the smallest voices, take a moment right now to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps stories like this reach people who need them most. Valeria sat on the warm gravel with her back against the gleaming wheel, blazer folded neatly beside her handbag, her phone lifeless in her palm as if even technology had decided to abandon her. She had been driving herself for the first time in years, choosing the road over a driver because she needed air, because success had become loud and lonely, and she wanted the quiet confidence of doing something ordinary. The irony stung as traffic whispered past, drivers glancing and moving on, their lives intact and uninterrupted. She thought of the meeting she was missing, the deal that would move millions, and how none of it seemed to matter as much as the fact that she did not know how to make the engine breathe again. That was when a small shadow fell across the sunlight, soft and unexpected, and Valeria looked up to see a little girl standing a careful distance away, the kind of distance taught by cautious parents. The child wore a simple dress that fluttered in the warm breeze, hair tied back with a ribbon that had seen better days, eyes curious and steady. The girl's name was Noor Aiden, and she had been walking home from a nearby fruit stand with dust on her shoes and a head full of afternoon thoughts. She studied the car with the solemn attention of someone trying to understand a puzzle far larger than herself, then turned her gaze to Valeria with an innocence that disarmed defenses built over decades. Noor pointed toward the open hood, her small arms straight and sure, and leaned in as if sharing a secret meant only for brave ears. She told Valeria that her dad could fix it, that he fixed many things, and that broken did not always mean finished. The words landed gently but firmly, like a hand placed on a shoulder at exactly the right moment. Valeria felt something loosen inside her, a laugh threatening to rise before dissolving into a tight, grateful breath. She thanked the girl with her eyes and nodded, unsure whether to hope or simply appreciate the kindness of the offer. They waited together in the sun, the highway humming its endless song, while Noor talked about ordinary miracles without realizing it. She spoke of afternoons in a small garage that smelled like oil and oranges, of hands that could listen to engines the way some people listen to hearts, of patience learned the hard way and never forgotten. Valeria listened, not to the specifics but to the faith threaded through every sentence, the unshakable belief that problems existed to be solved, and that people existed to help one another do it. It had been years since anyone spoke to her without wanting something in return, and the simplicity of it pressed against her chest until her eyes stung. Soon, a modest pickup pulled off the road and parked behind the Ferrari, its paint dulled by work and time. A man stepped out, wiping his hands on a rag, his posture careful and proud. His name was Kemal Aydin, and he carried himself like someone who had learned resilience by necessity. He approached with a respectful nod, taking in the scene with a practiced glance, then leaned over the engine with a calm that suggested familiarity rather than fear. Valeria watched as his hands moved with confidence earned over long days, as if the machine spoke to him in a language she had never learned. The fix was not immediate and it was not flashy, but it was honest. A loose connection, a tired part, the kind of thing that went unnoticed until it mattered. As Kemal worked, Valeria found herself thinking of her own life, of the connections she had neglected, the parts she had driven too hard until they failed. She realized that for all her wealth, she had outsourced her humanity piece by piece, trusting systems instead of people, speed instead of care. Watching a stranger repair her car for no other reason than decency felt like a lesson. She had paid too much to learn too late. When the engine finally turned over, the sound was not triumphant but steady, a promise rather than a boast. Relief washed over Valeria in a wave so strong it surprised her, and she stood, brushing dust from her clothes, feeling lighter than she had in years. She tried to offer payment that reflected her world, numbers that would have changed the Iden's month in a heartbeat. But Kemal shook his head gently, explaining with quiet dignity that help given freely stayed clean, and that his daughter had already been paid by seeing something fixed. As the sun tilted westward, casting long shadows across the road, Valeria did something she had not planned. She asked about the fruit stand, about the garage, about the dreams that fit inside a life built on honest work. She listened without interrupting, without calculating, and when she left, it was with more than a functioning car. It was with an address written on a scrap of paper and a decision forming like a sunrise. Over the weeks that followed, that decision became action. A partnership replaced charity, opportunity replaced struggle, and a small garage found itself equipped to serve a growing town without losing its soul. Nor never understood the full arc of what began with her pointing finger and her quiet confidence, but she felt it in the way her father smiled more, in the afternoons that grew less heavy, in the knowledge that telling the truth about goodness could move mountains. Valeria, for her part, carried the memory like a talisman. Whenever deals grew cold or rooms grew cruel, she remembered a hot highway and a child who believed broken things could be fixed by caring hands. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that the world can still surprise us with goodness in broad daylight, please take a moment to engage with the video, to like it, to share it, and to let others feel what you felt. And before the final moment fades, leave a comment telling us where you have seen kindness arrive when you needed it most. The road continues for all of us, bright and uncertain, but sometimes all it takes is a small voice, a simple belief, and the courage to stop and listen, to turn a breakdown into a beginning and a stranger into a second chance.